And we're live.
We are
Hello.
live.
Welcome back to High Leverage Actions, the podcast where we are talking through personal development changes that can make a significant difference in your life. So one topic, and we're live. Hello. It's done it again. Let me shut that one down. So anyway, today we are going to be talking about the circle of control and the circle of influence. We said last week we'll be doing circle of influence, but we're bringing in a bonus. So my name is Kay Reeve. I'm an emotional awareness expert. I particularly like helping parents with teenagers and young adults. But at the end of the day, I will work with a wider audience too. And this is...
Hi there, my name's Rory Lemon. I go by Rory Lemon Aid online. It's my nickname to AID to help. And I am a neurodiversity and creative flow coach. And that is to help neurodivergent, heart-centered or empathic creatives get those projects out there and get out of that procrastination and perfectionism loop that can cause so much burnout and self-sabotage underneath without even realizing. Let's turn that into actionable vision for a better, inclusive, sustainable world.
Wow, powerful stuff, Rory. But yes, everything that we discuss on this podcast helps, whether it is adults, whether it is parenting with teens, whether it is neurodiversity. We're inclusive of all of it here. And if there's anything you want to know, you ask us in the chat as we go along or afterwards. We will get back to you. So let's start off. We're talking about, oh, excuse me, the circle of control first, and then we'll come on to circle of influence. Now, I've come with props today. This is a first on our show, props. A picnic plate, that way up. So to talk about the circle of control today, we're talking about, first of all, what is in your control? Second part is what is in your influence? And the third part is what is possibly an area of concern and whether it is actually your problem or not your problem to deal with it. So from my point of view, kicking off today, when we talk about inner circle of control, these are things that you are empowered to deal with, that you have the ability to take control of. You don't need the influence of other people. It's like a form of independence or skill. And that is something where other people may even come to you for help because it's the thing that you can control. But on the other hand, if something happens, you could also be asking, should I be controlling this? Because if it's not your area to control and you try to control it, this is where problems come in at home, at work, in friendships. So it's about avoiding that taking over. In the circle of influence, again, it should I be influencing or should I not? And again, but influencing is about providing support for somebody and empowering them rather than taking over. So it is what we do, mentoring. We're here to influence and support and help, but not take over. And we influence and support each other as well without taking control of each other's business as business partners. But the influence is also, from your point of view, what influence do you need and what influence you can offer? And then the third part, so jumping out here, influence, moving out to the circle of concern, the third one, is if there is a problem, is first of all looking at it, is it my problem? Because sometimes there is no need to even influence or try and take control because it's somebody else's problem. And it's avoiding things like gossip and manipulation and control. There's lots of things to avoid by not butting in, politely putting that for all the right reasons, not butting in if it's not your problem. But also learning not to absorb things that are not your problem. So it's a self-protection as well. So there's two ways to this. And the other one is if there is a problem, but you don't have the power to influence or control it, but it is a problem for you. The other one I got here is who can help? Who can help? So my concern today was my car is playing up. It is a problem that I need to sort out. But I've got no influence over fixing the engine of my car, but I needed someone to take control of it. So I called the garage. So this is where it can be helpful from the outside to understand this as well. So I'm going to stop there and let Rory have a say on what you think of the introduction today on the circle of control and influence. Okay.
Well, I love it. It's a fascinating topic as usual. And without wanting to put too much of a spin on your plate, I'm just going to bring a little bit of a perspective around how my brain works and what through these ideas of leadership trainings that I've done, uh, to understand a sense of, regardless of whether we feel like something is we're in control of it or not, it, like you said, it's our, we we as individuals, if we're caught up in the emotion of it, we can not realize that we have control, and we can disregard that responsibility to take control of it, even if it's not to try and manipulate other people or the situation needlessly, but to actually realize that there's a responsibility to of how to react and respond to that situation or that choice, and it is becomes a choice to decide what to do within that sense. So there's always an actual level of control to any situation in terms of what do we do emotionally with it, rather than the actual practicality of it may seem like not in control or yet in control. So I just want to give a couple of examples here that come up for me, as is in, if I am struck by a flu, that now means I feel like I don't have control of my health at that moment, and actually there's an underlying control that the flu symptoms are there in order to actually clear it and heal and get better, and it's to my choice to honor that and actually go and sleep and rest rather than try to push through, potentially, and then either spread it somewhere else, or it all comes back down to choice and how we react to it. So as an idea of what's in, oh, I had no choice but to become fluey at that point. Yes, in that moment, but also what was I doing with my life, and am I being making healthy choices? Am I getting flu regularly? And is that something that I can, if it's not that I can decide to choose to be in control now, it, if not when? And so here's another example would be is if I'm in a job that I don't like, but I know that I want to pay the bills, and of course it's not, if you're not in a position to change suddenly, then it can feel like lack of control. Like I'm bound to this decision, but actually so basically looking at what things, like you say, looking at what things are out of control, in terms of, you know, uh, a loving reciprocal relationship. Wouldn't want to be controlling that person. That you'd want them to be not controlling of you. So it's a case of reciprocating, and what I call, um pa the interplay between power and submission, to be able to go, oh, I'm going to be powerful and choose this, and that they're going to submit and choose to submit, and vice versa over particular different things. So as a sense of what is in control and what isn't, what is it in your life that is out of control right now, but could be manipulated to be in a better position later? What are the things that it's important to let go of and just let them be? What things can you work on that can actually make your life better? As what can you take control of, but work on? And then what can you just do right now, that you do have control over? And so looking at those different factors in life, health, wealth, and love and relationships, and all these different areas that we want to either maintain or improve upon, or just even start, um so I'd like to, the final piece on that is that it is a bit um adaptable, and it does relate in what I would say is like the same thing as our comfort zone. What are we comfortable in controlling or not controlling? Like, there's an idea that the more I don't go outside, the more I could get fearful of going outside, or the less I walk, the less strong I become at walking. So they might be more fearful of walking in case I fall over. Whereas if I practice walking and practice running and practicing going and doing things and trying things out, my my level of like I break past my the comfortable part of my comfort zone rather than like pushing straight into anxiety and where I really don't believe that I have control over this thing. That might be too much, but where can I keep adapting? Where can I explore that will challenge my comfort zone that I can be in control of is very important, I believe, to look into.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. So, like self-control in how we use that comfort zone as well. I think perhaps we need to do a whole next session. Perhaps that's the topic for next time is comfort zones. Really powerful. But yes, comfort zones definitely fit around control. And when we do feel uncomfortable with something, that's when we try to take control of our comfort. And that's also when a lot of people feel out of control, like especially in families, and they feel out of control of finances and the kids and the housework, and they're trying to take control. That's very often when it can happen in the wrong ways as well and become a form of stress, a form of burnout, and it can become a means of burnout. It can become a form of manipulation and overly controlling other people to create your own sense of comfort as well, and putting up barriers against people and not letting them in. So it can become a very negative thing as well as for other things, it can be used positively. And I think there's also this thing for me when I think of control, in like you're saying, self-control is responsibility. Because if something should be in your control, whether it's family, whether it is work, whether it is something socially, or whether it's about looking after yourself, if it should be in your control, but you are going, that's not my problem, then it's not taking responsibility. And it's about being aware of that as well. So this circle of control, these three little circles, honestly, are triggering so much conversation from us. Um, So control is, should
Yeah.
I control it? And if it's yes, and you should be controlling it and you are controlling it, perfect. You're doing everything right. Sorry to whack the microphone. If it's the influence, should I be influencing it? Then yes, you're supporting somebody who is in control, but you're offering support, and that's a positive and powerful thing to support other people without taking over or interfering. And then, like, yeah, go on.
One last little thing before moving on, if we're moving into the other one,
Yes.
is what
Yeah.
comes up for me as well is being aware, emotionally aware, like we were just talking about, to be emotionally aware of that comfort zone. And if we feel uncomfortable, it can turn into stress and or anxiety. That can either be that we feel like we're being controlled upon or we want to control that. If we notice how we're feeling and we're what would be called negatively charged, not necessarily that it's right or wrong, but just as a sense of that if we are stressed, if we're feeling stressed and we're trying to control something, or if we're feeling stressed because we feel like we're being controlled upon and we don't have control, we've been feeling like a victim
Yeah.
to the environment, to the person, or to our minds. It's that we have to get out of. So that's the part that if you notice that, that's where the mental fitness piece comes in, around noticing what we're feeling, recognizing it, stepping out, stepping away from that can is the most important thing to do at any moment, because otherwise it's only going to feed into this to more of the same, because it's going to trying to control is going to cause more anxiety, that it's that causes chaos. The more you try to put order on something, the more you'll notice the chaos. The more you try to let go of something, the more it could be controlling on. So that sense of stepping out, mindful, letting the emotions calm down, it's a trigger in order to do something about it, but not do something about it with inside the stress. It doesn't work. It won't work. So it's a case of calming down. We can only operate well and clear-headed and calm is if we've charged our mental and emotional batteries up for compassion, curiosity, creativity to deal with the situation in a relaxation, so relaxing and releasing, letting go, and then coming at it from a reflective point of view of what to do.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, Rory. No, that's spot on. And I think that brings us to the outer one again, who can help? So when you're feeling like you need to influence or be influenced, or you need to be in control or want to be of something, and it's not negative control, it's like you say, having responsibility, having the skills, the purpose, that all fits in the control. But if you're feeling outside of that, who can help? Is it you need training for something? Do you need mentoring? Do you need therapy? Do you need whatever it is, literally physically help with something? Or like you say, if it's health, do you need a doctor or something? But in your feeling out there, who can help? And it is on a personal level, how you're feeling, like literally the feelings more than physical, then that's why we're here. If it's feeling like you are out of control of helping a teenager, or a young adult because they're not taking their responsibility seriously and they're not getting this circle of control right, and you don't know how to influence them as a parent, contact me. That's what I'm here for. We can get through this. And at the same time, if it's neurodiversity and you're dealing with this with yourself and you're struggling with it, that's what Rory's here for. Between us, we can help get through this and get it lined up so that it flows for you, creating that flow. So
Yeah.
that is the circle of control. But the next one is the circle of influence. And I love this one. Do
Right.
you use this one, Rory?
Tick that off. One little thing that just as you shared before, just to round off, that really came to me as we were talking about who can help, and it's like there's points in our lives where we expert advice will allow us not just to express it, release it, learn from it, but not just to then consistently need the help. It's actually there to, what I love about coaching is in mentorship is it's there to go, let's work on that
Mm,
and get you back into control, but also train you in how to self be in self efficacy or be in self control going forwards as well. So the idea of needing the help now is so that you don't need the help later, as a sense of control as well. Yeah. Um.
yeah,
Thank you.
spot on.
Uh, um. So circle of influence. What I get from this is it's another circle and another plate to spin. No, not really. What I get from it,
Come on.
yeah, cool.
I'll come back to that in a minute.
Yeah. What I get from it is it's the idea of um part of what I like to share is like what information are we taking on board? Who are we learning from? What opinions are we absorbing? Um, what information are we taking in? Are we watching violent films all day and uh learning about plot lines that is all about violent communication compared to those that are like supporting communication and progressive communication and non-judgmental, non-attached communication, all that kind of stuff. What information am I taking on, and what is it teaching me? Because it's our subconscious, if we're relaxed, we are being taught that no matter what, even if someone's there like complaining about the weather, and someone's complaining about the weather all the time around you, it's not it's difficult not to subconsciously absorb that and then notice suddenly we're observing the weather, trying to judge the weather here and there, suddenly in our lives, and then also what are we putting out into the world. So what's coming in, and then what am I learning from it, and what am I putting back out there? So it's that sense of, and I'll pass it back over to you to pad this out. But that's the idea of what's coming in and what we putting back out in the world, and am we putting a good message back out in the world, or is it based on what we're learnt from um, uh, disruptive information or useful information that creates connectivity, creativity, and curiosity?
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Absolutely, Rory, bang on. And it is about how we absorb and process and become. And the saying that I'm most familiar with this is that we become the average of the 10 people we spend the most time with. Now, I've got another plate prepared because I just had this desire to draw all over picnic plates today. A bit of inspiration. So for me, I've always thought about this in terms, and I couldn't find anything online about it. So I'm not even sure where I got this from, but it's something I've done in my life for over probably over 20 years, is to think about how people fit within my home life, like the people I allow in where I live and spend time with. Then there's people who I call friends, there's groups, like people we meet in social groups and clubs, colleagues and teachers, like people that you meet outside the home but spend a lot of time with. And then there's other acquaintances that you might perhaps go and have a coffee with, but they tend not to work with you or go to school with you, etc., and don't come to your home. So these are people you meet out in society. And then beyond that, you've got like YouTube influencers, etc., public speakers, you've got strangers that you meet that you might chat with or just judge or watch or observe, and mentors. But all of these people can shift in and out of different circles, and you can mentally move them around until the 10 that are closest are the ones that you feel will help you become the best version of yourself. So I'm going to pop that down a minute. So for my example is if you've got 3 people in your home, and then maybe the rest of the 10 fit within your work or social life, but you're not feeling like you're being the best version of yourself and you want to change that influence, a lot of strategies might talk about cutting out toxic people or moving people out of your life, but there are better ways to deal with this first. And that is to move more influence into your inner circle in your home. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean inviting people into your home. That can mean instead of spending more time with a friend outside, socializing outside school or work or groups, whatever, it can mean spending time, instead of watching those horror movies, like Rory says, spending time watching influencers on YouTube or watching documentaries on the telly that teach you what you want to know, reading self-help books, listening to more positive music and doing affirmations. And by finding people that you want to learn from, even if it is through YouTube, telly, books, music, that changes your circle of influence without having to actually meet those people. Now, that automatically is the more you put that into your inner influence, that automatically moves other people out past number 10 without you having to shift them out of those other circles. So they can still stay friends, teachers, colleagues, and acquaintances, but you put more into your inner circle to help you become the version of yourself you want to be, which is why Rory's, whichever side you're on today, is on my inner circle, because I learn a lot from Rory. He's a great influence on my life, and I know he absolutely is a tremendous influence on other people. And Rory is in my inner circle of influence. Now, we've never met in person, but we spend a lot of time talking on Zoom or on the phone, and also training that Rory's done. And I watch his training videos or his YouTube channel. I don't know the other way around because I don't know if Rory's into parenting teens, but so it tends not to go the other way. But there's other things where I influence Rory through self-publishing, and he's launching his first book this week because he's put me more towards the inner side of his circle as a mentor to help him write and publish a book. So we're launching it on Thursday, which is awesome. So well done, Rory. And this is how we change that influence. So, Rory, have you got anything you want to add on that one? I know you have.
I certainly do, and I just want to actually one major thing that comes up for me there is when we're not, you're saying we are not sure how much influence you're having on me because you've been taking a lot of influence from me. It it's always, I like to say it's always reciprocal, whether it's subconscious or conscious. I cannot teach if you are not learning. I don't learn unless I'm teaching in a lot of way. Not unless, but I cannot grow without the feedback of sharing what comes to me. And it's a great, great gift to be able to have done be doing this and have done that, and it's just as valuable. There's no rating on this. Your help in your way getting that book out within 90 days, whether it's 90 days or not, it's 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 all manifesting into reality, and there's no value put on it. So in a lot of ways. So I just want to let you know that and bear that in mind, that it is reciprocal, even if it feels like it's one way, because if we're playing catch and I throw a ball and there's no one to catch it, it's not really much of a game or fun, or
Good
uh,
point.
or 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 what or what's the other what's the other thing? Does a tree make any noise if it falls when there's no one to listen to it, you
Mm.
know? And so it's reciprocal. We are mirrors for each other when we are either um growing with each other or struggling with each other. It perpetuates either way. And so I just wanted to remind you of that you are awesome too, Kay.
Thank
And
you,
uh,
Rory.
you've helped me in so many ways.
Thank you.
Um,
And also why feedback is important on these videos as well, on the podcast. We want your feedback because we're here to be part of your circle of influence. This is why we do this podcast, to help others to grow. And we also want to be able to grow in how we present this, the information we share with you, and your feedback is valuable too. So thank you. Thank you, Rory.
okay.
All reciprocal. So it could be reciprocal with people we never even meet. When you leave us that feedback, it works universally.
Yeah, yeah.
Well said.
And two things popped up for me. I'm wondering what's that what it's done to me to watch so much Sesame Street as a kid then. Am
Yeah,
I now am I now an official awesome Muppet? And or Monty Python was my staple was my staple sketch listening to when I was a kid, or headphones on. Before I got into music, it was just Monty Python non-stop. So it just goes to show, like, I wonder what that means for my personality and character. But more seriously, back to the idea of if we look at it as a specific example, um, I know that if I was living in a shared house full of people that were drinking spirits all day, um, it may not be very long before I'm no matter how much I've given up alcohol, but suddenly I might be eating cake again, and like pizza every night, and whoever you're hanging out with is possible for that to happen. And it's only so much you can take a stand on, and it comes back to that circle of control and what you can separate yourself from. But even if it's there is a level, unless you are under the guidance or the a child of there's a possibility to work with changing that environment, or at least, like you say, going to in influence, finding good information, good experts online.
Mm,
The internet can go two ways. One, it can cause a lot of confusion and distraction and procrastination and um uh attention, what's the word, uh acquired attention deficit. Not talking about the diagnosable case, but it is certainly something that can cause that dopamine charging part of the brain that gets short-term hits, cheap dopamine hits, causing negative responses for being not stimulated with very simple things in life. Um, and how to make that more interesting again, and vice versa. The internet can also be such gold for when you've got a clarity of vision of or intention of what you want to create with it. Then suddenly you've got more power uh than uh than anyone can realize in their hands with just a phone these days. You can start a whole business with just a phone that helps people going forwards. Don't need anything else as such. It's all information and how to apply that information and focus and intention and creating that vision of what you want. So I've said a lot there, but basically, you know, if you're resonating with either one of us and you've got a sense of what you want to create, and it's just a it's just a case of getting that clarity of vision so that you know where to start moving forwards to with your health, your wealth, or your emotional awareness, or your mental fitness, or getting those projects out there that you want to create, then we're here.
Mm, thank you, Rory. And yeah, a couple of points came up for me there when you were talking about programs. Sorry, I've really got a tickle. Right, yeah, you were talking about Sesame Street, and I remember watching that, but I also remember there being articles about some of the early ones I watched, like Bill and Ben. And then there was the later ones like Teletubbies and how they have an influence on children. And one of the things I remember was my daughter at high school and her friends as teenagers all being influenced to use this really silly talk and it changed how my daughter's education was forming. But rather than me tell you all about that today, I actually did talk about the circle of influence in relation to parenting teens on my other podcast last Tuesday. So I'll put the link to that as well. But I told the story about how my daughter dealt with all of this talk that was going on in the playground and socially in this silly language, while she was also trying to pass her English exams or her English lessons and struggling because there was two different languages going on. And it was that influence of her friends and how we dealt with that, how I dealt with that as a parent with her as well. But certainly from an individual, every time you go to a different company, the talk and the language and the abbreviations and the terminology for every company changes. And then you've got different people, colleagues, managers, etc., and supervisors and clients. And that all changes your circle of influence if you change jobs as well. And that changes how you talk. So you change with every job, and the circle of influence is powerful. But when you put these two together, so just to round up, when you know what's in your control, what's in your influence, and what's outside your influence, whether it's concern that is your concern to get help for or not to get help for and walk away from, that's a good lesson in itself. But then to use that knowledge about control to manage your circle of influence of the top 10 people in your life is powerful. And I do this myself because there are people in my life who I have negative influence from. Now, I don't necessarily want to cut them out of my life, but the other one is to reduce time you spend with people rather than cut them out and just keep a little bit of distance. Occasionally, we do need to create barriers and cut toxicity out altogether. And sometimes it is the best thing to do for yourself, for your health, for your well-being. But that's on extreme circumstances. But it is important to be aware of how far you need to put those boundaries in. And we talked about boundaries on the second week, I believe. So that's back in the playlist as well. But all of these concepts that we talk about can be tied together and they all cross relate, but individually, they're really, really powerful to understand. And we find them so important. And so we just find them so exciting to talk about. But because we want to help you and we want to help you understand the importance of these and become aware so that you can take control of your life. So thank you. I've gone on one of my passionate rants there, Rory.
It's
This,
all, yeah,
yeah,
loved it, loved it.
thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Just to round it up as well from me, there's the only thing as just bringing back that piece of reflection, coming back, not being in the stress, coming back to reflecting on what's possible to change, even if you question what you think is not possible to change, and look at really what, because everything is possible to change, because nothing is constantly permanent forever. Everything changes, all possessions, life changes. We all change. So anything can actually change. So it's a case of it. You are in control of it. You have the choice. But it may not feel like it. When it doesn't feel like it, that's the trigger to check and step out and
Mm.
reflect. And that's where help can certainly help to speed that process up. And the final piece is that I pulled
We
the the organized courage card, which really helps to define us a sense of that it is about planning what to be courageous about in order to change what you want to change going forwards. So thanks for listening for the high leverage actions.
Oh, thank you, Rory. And yes, that is a good point. And courage is really important in dealing with this. Courage to take control, courage to know when to walk away, and courage to know how to manage those social circles, and the courage to be the best version of you. And better still, the courage to reach out and talk to me or Rory, because we both offer a free call. Just contact us and I'll pop the links to our websites below. But also, thank you from us for listening in if you've got this far. And we look forward to speaking to you again next week. And what did we say next week? Comfort zones. Should we do comfort zones?
Yeah,
I think that would be a really good one in itself and ties in with this as well.
yeah.
So we're trying to thread it through that every strategy we bring you ties in with the ones we've already done, and we bring that conversation together gently in a way that you can grow, we can grow, this podcast can grow. So please like, subscribe, comment, share anything you can so that our circle of influence can grow as well. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. And thank you again, Rory. Awesome conversation.
Amazing.
Always.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks.
you.